Okay, welcome everybody to the Raleigh Astronomy Club imaging meeting for February. The title we came up for this one is strategies for processing comet images. Since that's all the rage these days, we have the 50,000 year comet coming through right now, or it's already come through. It's going by now. The C 2022 E3 ZTF, I believe, is its designation. So one of our longtime imagers, Jay Hyman, loves processing comets, and so he's going to give us a rundown of his experiences with, well, processing comet data and coming up with all these pretty images he has. So, Jay, take it away.
Okay. Comets are one of my favorite things to image because they're always different. They're always changing, and they're, of course, I love a challenge too. And because of the challenges, they're really difficult to image sometimes. The fact that they're moving means that you can't expose them for a long time. The fact that they're evolving over time means that you can't integrate over long periods of time, or else the tail is changed. And the fact that the tails are very faint means that you're always skirting with uh, the uh, the background and noise and things like that. Comets are usually, as they're at their brightest and their best, are usually near the sun and the sky as well. This one is that we've had recently is different because it's gone circumpolar, which is really nice. But you're also a lot of times skirting with dawn and dusk and satellite trails. But even though fast optics and dark sky are ideal, you can still make good images from almost any equipment and location. I did the ones that I'm going to show, at least the recent comet from my backyard, which is Bortle 6, something like that. This is an example of what you can do with really simple equipment. This was just a 200 millimeter lens on a DSLR and a tripod. This was Comet Pan-STARRS several years ago. I didn't even have a tracking mount at the time. Before that, I'd always borrowed from other people or universities or whatnot. But this was just a really nice juxtaposition over the water of the moon and the comet, but very simple equipment. This one, oh, come on, run. Oh, there it goes. This one I wanted to show just because it shows just how fast the tail evolves. This is a lot of way overstretched images from subs over a span of 55 minutes. Notice this area. Can you see my mouse? Probably not. Notice the area about halfway down the dust tail or the ion tail. There are two knots that change quite a bit, and that's only over 55 minutes. And so you can't really do an integration for a very long time without blurring the ion tail on dynamic comets. So far, I haven't seen that Zwicky, as you might call it, has exhibited quite as much change in the tail. So there's two main processing strategies that I'll go quickly through each one of them or choose an example of the second one. The one is just to calibrate your images and stack them after aligning on the comet and keeping the streak stars. Now, that's also a benefit if you guide on the comet. It allows you to take much longer exposures, but it's also fraught with difficulty because I'm almost always, when I'm taking comet images, I have an interruption or something like that. And so you end up with gaps in the star streaks that makes them less attractive. Also, if the star field is very crowded, then it just looks like your comet's trying to make its way through a snowstorm, blizzard. The other way to do it is to try to freeze the stars. The first way is to use integration with aggressive rejection to remove the misaligned stars. That's what I used to have to do years ago before some nice star removal tools were available. And I won't even go into that because I wouldn't ever do that again. The other one is to remove the stars from the subs before you stack the comet. And the third way is to use the comet alignment process to remove the stars. And I've recently been using the method 3 there and been getting very good results. Actually, the image here is not done with that. It was done by method number 1, but it took a lot of work. And so I made a chart which basically has all the common processing steps that you would go through to go for each one. For following streak stars, you'd go down this line, and anything that the arrow touches, you would perform. Same thing with doing pixel rejection, star pre-removal, using removing the stars after comet alignment, and using comet align with an operand mask to remove the stars. So let me switch over to PixInsight here. I had all this ready to go, and then my computer tried to reboot on me. So if you're used to processing DSOs, there are certainly a lot of commonality. The calibration and initial alignment of the stars are done exactly the same way if you use the weighted batch pre-processing script. I pretty much use, as a start, all the defaults except for a very few changes on the processing script. Other computer. Okay, came up. Okay, so just like for anything else, you load up your bias, dark, flats, what have you, and your lights, of course. But on the calibration tab, the only thing you do is if you're doing CFA images, which I do, and of course you do it differently for LRGB, you have to make sure that you check that it's a CFA image or it doesn't know that it is. All the other settings are pretty much the same. Make sure that you set the output directory. I prefer to choose manual registration image because it helps when you do the Comet stack to have the same registration image that the star stack was made as you do this. And so, or else you end up with odd things, which I'll show in the fringe. Anyway, let's see. Post calibration, you can choose whether to recombine RGB or have separate RGB. But then you run it, and I'm not going to do that because it'll take forever on this computer. But I'll show you the end result. So this is Comet ZTF, the star stack over something like, shoot, I forgot. So, sorry, it'll take me a second to bring it back up. Maybe it'll tell me on this screen. Oh, there it is at the top. 45-second exposures and about 150 of them. If I can get this to go away. Sorry, my laptop is really too slow to run Fixit Insight. All right, let's just anyway, about 150 of them. So the next thing you want to do is decide whether you want to continue on with doing a star streak type process. And first thing I would do is run Comet stack on the registered images. And the main thing you want to do is just load up the images in order to have it Comet align. You double click on the first image, it'll bring it up. Apologize for the speed. Probably going to tell me it's not there because I transferred it from another system. There it goes. Okay, once the image comes up, all you have to do is click on somewhere near the Comet head, and PixInsight will highlight it. Go to the bottom one, bring it up again. I'm not going to do it since it's acting so slowly, but then do the same thing for that. Then you can close those down, save a imaging or a process icon, and then run it. And so I'm not going to do that. And so what I ended up with was a directory full of Comet aligned images. And then if I do an image integration, just simply using the defaults, except that I do generally, the default is no rejection, but I change it over to Winsrose sigma clipping and leave the sigma low at 4 and the sigma high at 3. Otherwise, everything's default. And then when I run that, I end up with a Comet image that has some streakiness in it. Now, the problem with this particular image is that it doesn't remove enough of the stars to be worthwhile in that vein, and it doesn't leave enough of the stars to be a very good streaked image. And so you can play with the rejection. This is the same stack, but no rejection. It gives you nice star streaks, but you see a lot of artifacts that come through. There's the other problem with, let me bring this one back up. Another problem you have is I had an interrupted imaging session where I had to stop and reposition it because the Comet was leaving the frame. And so I end up with a gap in my star streaks. And it's not very attractive if you're trying to do star streaks. When I took just the greater proportion of that and integrated those, then I have much nicer star streaks, but I still have artifacts around the edge because there's no rejection along with it. Some rejection gets rid of a lot of the artifacts, but it's not terribly pleasing because the star streaks maybe aren't as good in contrast. And what rejection it does tends to take away from the core of the stars, and so you end up with odd-looking star streaks as you do it like that. And so more pleasing star streaks, let me see, you can get by doing pretty high sigma. This is 10 sigma from high rejection. The stars streaks are a little bit more attractive, but it's still, there's so many stars in this image that it kind of obscures the comet itself. So going one of the other ways I'm not even going to spend much time talking about the old way to do it. I'll just show you an image. This is one where I tried to eliminate the stars using a high rejection or a low number rejection. This is using a Winsorized sigma clipping with high sigma of 1.5. And so it got rid of most of the stars, and this is what I used to have to do, but it probably also obliterated a good bit of the tail. And so still having streaks, but and not completely eliminating them and losing some of your good data. So here. Okay. One way is to take the data that went into these images, instead of trying to use the rejection algorithms to get rid of the stars, use a tool like Star Exterminator in one case, Star Net in another case. And so what I did with that is, this is an example of one of my subs that's had Star Exterminator work on it. It looks pretty clean. There's a few spots here and there. Once I stack that, it also looks pretty clean, even though it's a little bit blotchy. Not too bad, but pretty good overall. The biggest problem I have with doing pre-elimination of the stars is, at least on my systems and even my faster processing system, it takes a long time. And this number of subs, 150 subs, it took me 2 days to run them on Star Exterminator and another 2 days to run it on StarNet. I know that StarNet has and both of them have a way that you can couple it to a GPU, but I haven't done that yet. So I'm hoping that will help quite a bit. This is a sub that's been processed by StarNet, pretty clean, a little bit cleaner than Star Exterminator on the sub level, and very similar Comet stack based on the eliminated stars from that. But what I'm going to continue on with is the other process that I like, which is, let me see. The third process, where we use the Comet alignment tool to actually subtract out. You make one mask, Comet alignment subtracts that from every sub, and then you end up with Comet aligned stars with the stars subtracted. Now, it seems like if you look at the individual subs, which I'll go back to PixInsight here. If you go back to the individual subs here, it looks like it's a lot junkier than the StarNet or Star Exterminator stubs. But the good thing is that the artifacts that it leaves seem to be small enough that they are easily eliminated by the stacking algorithm. So this is so that's the star stack made from the stubs that Comet alignment tool cleaned up, and it took a stack of images that look like that, and I end up with basically very few, if any, streaks. Now I'll go back and go through creating the masks that I use for that, and so using Star Exterminator, it's just a very simple process if you have it. I know that it's a paid product, and so I don't want to rely solely on that. But if you use it, you can do the same thing with StarNet, but I haven't tested it as fully. You just simply say, I want to generate a star image. And apply that to a clone of your star stack, and you end up with an image that looks like this after screen transfer function. You can tell that it's actually quite low in intensity, because if you take screen transfer function off, it goes black. And so at this point, you want to leave it as is, save it just like this, because it's already, as Star Exterminator pulled these stars out, it left the stars image at the same level of intensity as the images you're going to be working with. And so to use that, let's see, same thing for StarNet. This is StarNet. It actually looks kind of prettier in a way. But so I'm looking forward to trying the same process with StarNet, because it would be nice to have a free tool, even though I've already paid for Star Exterminator. So what you do with that is you simply load up the same images you did into Comet alignment that you did before. Select where the comet is in the first and last image. And in fact, I could just call up this process icon from before, and the main difference is that you have an operand image. And so just go down here, assuming you saved one of these two, then reference that image by choosing your operand image here, hit stars aligned, because it is a stars aligned image, but everything else is pretty much the same. One thing I do that I may not have mentioned before is I make sure that when I do Comet alignment, that I set the reference to the same reference that I used in weighted batch preprocessing, so that the Comet ends up in the right place on the screen, and I don't get a lot of extra junk showing up where I don't want it. And I actually had that experience doing this processing session. I forgot to set the reference and couldn't understand why I had such a ragged edge on the bottom. So how do I get this to go somewhere else? Sorry, Zoom was getting in my way. So after doing that, and then stacking the image, I think I showed this once before. No, you go away. End up with an image like that. My case in point for choosing the same reference is this image. This one on the left shows what happens when it chooses a reference image that's not the same as you want it. And I chose a reference image by going through Blink and deciding that I wanted my Comet in a certain part of the frame. And in this case, when it did it on its own, I think it chose the one of the first images, perhaps. I'm not sure. It didn't tell me which reference it chose, but it wasn't what I wanted. And so it was much better here when I have the same reference image on both of them. So next, what I do is you can either try to add back in any galaxies and DSOs that you have at this point, but it's kind of difficult to match the intensity of anything that you just clone into the image. But I do go through and use clone stamp to clean up anything before I go in and add stars to it. Also, I think it's probably a good idea to do dynamic background extraction at this point, because it's much easier to choose reference points on the image by without the stars on there, without hitting any stars that'll mess up the model that it creates. And so what I do is I use a lot of points, because all of my, or at least the optical system I'm using here, my ES ED102, I'm using a full frame sensor on a system that wasn't really made for a full frame sensor. And so I end up with a lot of vignetting and things like that. And so I have to use a lot of points and a sharp curve to get it. But it's, I think I think the jury's still out as to whether it's better to do it at this stage or after you add the stars. But I've found it easier to do because it's so easy without the stars to see where the comet is and to avoid it when you choose your points. Okay, the next step is to take, let's go back one. Okay, the next step is to take your cleaned up comet image, and you need to linear fit that with, let me close this, I didn't mean to bring that up. You need to linear fit that with the star stack image that you're going to get the stars from. And so no, that's not what I wanted to do. Stop. Where's my linear fit? Yeah, that's it. Okay. So with the linear fit, you simply, you need to reference your star stack image that you're going to add the stars from and apply it to the comet image. Takes it a moment or two. Then after the two images are prepared and on the same level, the next thing you do is to create a star mask. And there are a lot of possibilities in making a star mask. If you have Star Exterminator or StarNet, that's a good place to start. And so what I do is I take one of the images here that are low-level images. They're in terms of intensity. You can see as I take off screen transfer function, and then take that and stretch it until without a screen transfer function, there's none on this image here, you can see the stars. Now there's a lot of different manipulations you can do at this point, and let me reset this. Now that looks pretty horrible, but it's because it hasn't been rescaled. But at this point, the linear fit Comet image may look odd. Other times it doesn't. I'm not sure what the difference is. But I've created the star mask from the Star Exterminator stars image, where I've stretched it out to where it's visible. And I'll apply that to the linear fit Comet image. So now I have an active star mask on the Comet image. And then after that, you use pixel mask process to simply add the stars image, the star stack image, to the image you want. Now, if I remove the mask, you can see that it's there with the stars. Now it's going to be safe to rescale it so that we can see what it really looks like. So there you have it. That's the basic process for getting a separate star stack and then adding the stars back. There are a lot of options that you can do. If you want the stars to be less prominent, you can make a star mask that is lighter. Let's see. Get out of the way here. Actually, that's the mask. And there's a one where I simply didn't stretch the mask as much. Oops. And there's one where I probably left the mask too light. It's kind of a little bit sparse on the stars. But there's a lot of things that you can do simply by manipulating the mask you use when you put the stars back. And then this is just an image that I did a quick mask stretch on the Comet to give me kind of close to the final image. I'm still working on it. Something else I wanted to show was some other examples of star streak versus star freeze images. This is another comet. This is Comet Lovejoy from 2016. One of my favorite comets. It's a very pretty comet. And you can see that it's pretty nice with the streak stars, really a dynamic image. But if you take that and freeze the stars, it's the comet itself shows up much better in that image than it does in the star streaked image. There's another example that where star streaking is probably not going to work at all. And this is my image of Lovejoy at a wider angle with the Pleiades. And of course, it smears the Pleiades. And there's so many stars in this crowded star field that it just looks like a bugs in a snowstorm. Let's see. Let me see if I can move this back out of the way. And so what I'll do, I need to update my references. Those are still from 2016 or whenever I gave this originally. And there's the end. I have a series of notes on exact processing steps that I will accompany the presentation when I hand it out or make it available. And so you'll have not only the I'm not used to Zoom, it keeps getting in the way. So it will accompany the schematic of the steps, and each one of these is detailed in text. So basically, that's the process, and you can choose which way you want to go with it. I didn't cover a lot of things because it's you probably already know how to do things like fixing the background and proper stretching and all of the final post-processing steps. There's not too much that's really different about Comet processing, except that the Comet processing tends to obscure the tail the way you might ordinarily do it. And so what I've put in my bag of tools is definitely using a mask stretch to help darken the background and make the tail stand out a little bit. But other than that, it's pretty much standard stuff for DSOs. Any questions?
Well, not on necessarily processing procedures, but would you say that this is probably been the hardest Comet to process?
The most recent one has been very difficult.
C3 2022 E3, yeah.
Yeah, C3 is to me it's very difficult. I didn't know how much of it was just because of my location, but the gas tail is very faint.
Mm-hmm.
The dust tail is very diffuse, and so and as it was coming near us, it was moving across the sky very fast, and so it had everything against us, making it harder to image it. And that's why I wish I had a RASA or a Hyperstar, but at the time I wasn't able to get out to a dark site either.
Okay.
Even this image of Lovejoy, I never had a really good version of it, and it's because I didn't have the current tools. It's so much easier to go through this process. You can make the initial processing, make a star mask, have common alignment, do the processing and stack it, and it's you can get a pretty decent image in maybe a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Whereas if you don't have the proper acceleration on your GPU enabled, doing the pre-removal of the stars using Star Exterminator or StarNet can take much longer. I think it's, at least in my hands, the results are comparable.
Jay, I've just got a quick comment.
Yeah.
I wish we were in person because I would give you a standing ovation.
Oh, thank you.
This was incredible. I mean, just the your presentation of the process, as long as just the images that you've captured, it's stunning. Just thank you for the share. Learned a ton just in the short time that you shared some things with us. Wow.
So,
Well, thanks for your comments. Like I said, I started doing this for a seminar we had in 2016 and was never quite satisfied with what I was able to give out. And then only recently, with the advent of the ZTF Comet, was motivated to go back and look at the processes again. And nothing that I did back in 2016 really was worthwhile. And so I just started over and was very pleased with how well some of these processes work.
do you have kind of like a before and after? Okay, let me back up. Like what you just explained. You're showing Lovejoy here. I forgot what year that was, do you have like an older example of Lovejoy, something that you were satisfied with the tech and software at the time that you can record?
Yes, give me just a moment to find it. I have the best I could do with, at least with the give me a second. Let me stop sharing that. See if I can find this exact same image. That's not it. That's not it. Yeah, that one of Lovejoy that I was showing, I think I never was satisfied with the processing. This is, let me reshare. I'll stop sharing for a second. Share screen. Okay, this is my 200 millimeter best I could do process from the previous methods. Let me zoom in on the tail here. You can see that there's still a lot of streaking, and I spent weeks trying to get this to work well. Let me go to the stack I have of that. Is that one? Okay, I haven't added the stars back in on this yet, but look at the smoothness in the tail. Compare that to there. And so I'm very much looking forward to trying to get a really nice picture out of this, because it's one of my favorite all-time pictures. There's a little bit of dark streaking in that. I reprocessed, that's not the one. I restacked it using some rejection in the low end in order to get rid of the dark patches. That's not the right one either. What do I do with that? Anyway, it's anyway, it's even at that, it's a lot better than it was.
What is that thing in the corner?
Oh, the Pleiades.
Okay, that's what I thought. I seem to remember it doing that. I missed that opportunity.
So yeah, it was they pulled the old process one out. There's the Pleiades.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a really nice composition. I couldn't ask for better. but I could just never get rid of the streaky stars or
Hey,
the
Jay?
streaky stars in the tail. Yes.
Mike Mantini here. I had a quick question. I was out the other night. I've only tried a couple times on this, but kind of got spoiled with Comet Lovejoy, thinking I'd get something like that. But
Yeah.
that was a totally different Comet, and I got similar results that you got. And to this day, it's the best Comet I've ever captured. But anyway, I captured about an hour and a half's worth of data the other night, but I guided on the Comet.
Okay. How long were your exposures?
1 minute.
Okay.
Do you think I'll get? I haven't touched the data yet because I haven't had time yet. Is it worth even?
Oh, absolutely.
I was wondering.
It's possible that the star removal algorithms will be able to take a minute streak star and get rid of them if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I was very surprised to see the Comet it guiding well. I mean, considering it's kind of a big blob, I was able to, it just wasn't the star field. It was amazing how much the star field was moving per minute, because it is fairly fast.
It's
But
kind of hard to see in this image, but the nucleus is actually pretty condensed, and I think PhD, if that's what you're using, can find the center of that.
right. What do they call it? The centroid? Is that the other term that they use some calculation and they look at?
Right.
Yeah.
As long as it's not looking too far away. If it looked too far out,
Yeah.
it would kind of get into the darker stuff. So I
Yeah.
don't know exactly what it's doing. I'd like to know. I've done some
Yeah.
work trying to detect stars myself in order to make my own autofocus
Right.
routine.
Right. Well, I'll give it a shot. I actually this was all done on my Zoe Air Plus. So I was pleasantly surprised that its guiding utility is nothing like PhD2, but it works well. I've had very good success with it, but I was pleasantly surprised to see that I selected the Comet and it really did it did a good job of guiding off of the Comet. And I don't know what kind of algorithms they use internally, but I got a good 90 minutes worth of data. But it just haven't done anything with it.
With this Comet, I haven't really seen a whole lot of changes, kinks, things like that in its ion tail, like I have with either Lovejoy or Catalina.
Right.
And so integrating over a long period of time probably doesn't hurt you.
Right. Do you think it would be worth me taking my Hyperstar out on this, or is it too far? Is it just at a point now that it may not be worth doing?
I don't know. If you can go to a dark site, it might really surprise you. You might see that the tail is way longer than any of us can capture.
Right. Well, my Edge 11 with the Hyperstar gives me a 560 millimeter focal length. I don't know, I have to do the calculation, see just how much I can
And
get.
you have an APS-C sensor?
Yes.
Okay. This, for example, this image I'm showing here was taken with my ED 102, which has a 715 millimeter focal length and a full frame sensor. So it'd probably be about the same field of view as your Hyperstar.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And interestingly, Jay, that, I captured Lovejoy with my Canon T2i years ago. That was 2016, I think, right? Was that 2016 that coming?
There were a couple of Lovejoys, but the good one was 2016, I think.
Yeah. So I was amazed at that little Canon, what that little Canon could do, so.
Where is it? Yeah, that's the one on the left is one of the Lovejoys.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great comment.
Yeah, they don't come along very often. Lovejoy and Catalina were both awesome.
Mhm.
Hey, Jay, was the Lovejoy that you showed at the last in your presentation, was that a reprocess using your kind of method 3? Is that what that was?
This one,
No, the one you had before when you were just about to end your presentation on the Pix Insight screen. You were showing two Comets side by side. One had streaks, one was star frozen.
this,
Not that one, the one
that
before.
one is the same, oops. It's the same night that I took this, but with different optics.
Okay, so the picture that's in
This
the
one
foreground now, was that was that with the method with the putting the mask in the Pix Insight Comet line?
Yes, it was.
Okay,
And I'm sure I have another processed version of that, but it wasn't in my Astro Display group, and so I must not have been very happy with it from before.
so is it safe to say that that's your preferred method right now? You know, not even the Star Exterminators or StarNet, whatever the method that you're showing.
I'd still use Star Exterminator to create the operand that you use in the Comet alignment tool. And so it's still great for that. I haven't tried StarNet in that role yet, but it's like anything. I'm sure I did 3 different ones that had different kinds of data just to see if the method was robust, and it seems to work really well for those 3. We'll always find exceptions, and so as we find exceptions, we'll have to do something different.
Okay, great.
Years ago, before Star Exterminator or StarNet existed, I had written pixel math routines to do the same thing. And it was good enough that I could look at the subs and not see where it took the stars away. But when I stacked them, I still got streaks. It's like, how does this happen? And so I couldn't understand what was going on. But this so far is working extremely well.
All right, cool, thanks.
Sure.
Just a comment, sorry, a comment on Star Exterminator. One thing I noticed, because I was doing the star removal and then stack them option. The latest AI was pulling out some of the coma. Even
I
if,
saw that in some
Yeah.
of my subs where the coma was kind of clipped on one side.
yeah, it was noticeable in the final stack. Because I thought, oh, maybe it's not enough to be a problem. But I went, and the latest AI version's 11. I have back to version 6, or at least a smattering of them, and I tried version 6 and it was fine. It took none of the coma out. So if anybody needs that, I have it and can provide it, because I don't think you can go back and download old versions. I'm gonna start archiving all the old AIs that I get my hands on, just in case.
That's a good idea.
And I tried using StarNet v2, but I had problems running it in a process container against an image container, because I wanted to mask the Comet core, make sure it didn't get removed. And it wouldn't work. I couldn't get it to work against the linear image. Like, it wasn't honoring the flag, linear equals true. So if anybody knows how to make that work, I'd love to know.
Let me see. Trying to remember if I actually stacked those. I
Because
did.
if you do it with like the process and just check the linear option, it works fine in an individual sub, but trying to do it in batches, I just couldn't get it to work.
That's using star removal and StarNet, that image.
Okay. And you ran StarNet like against an image container to remove the stars?
What I did
Well-
is I didn't use a mask. I just
Okay.
made an image container and then a StarNet icon and dropped the image container onto the icon, and it ran
Okay.
just fine.
So it probably was the process container. I can't remember the name of the Comet now, but I had a older set, and I definitely want to go back and try this operand thing. So thank you for sharing this. I didn't get how to use it, and I hadn't used it successfully yet, but this makes sense. But I
There's
had an
no,
older.
I was saying there's not really much explanation of it anywhere, but
No.
I tried it, used the defaults except for whether to select that it was a star aligned image or not, and it worked. It's like, wow, this is easy.
And it looks like it's got a really good output. But one thing you might want to do when you stack or you do the comet alignment is to just blink through them to make sure that the comet's actually aligned. There was an older comet that moved really close to a star, and the comet alignment like split the difference when it was the subs were very close to that star, so the comet jumped around.
It's a good idea. I usually blink before after I register, but not after the comet alignment. So it's a good thought.
Yeah. I mean, it probably is a wash when the integration if you have enough subs, but it could be a problem.
Yeah, it certainly muddy things up depending on your rejection algorithm.
For us newer folks, what do you mean by the blink part? I didn't follow that, Naveen or Jay.
I use the blink function. It's a very handy tool. What you do is it's just a way to easily visualize your images. You add your images that you want to look at. Let me see. Let's look at since we're talking about it. Oh shoot, StarNet wouldn't run on this computer. Let's see, but I do have Star Exterminator images. I'll just load a few of them because it takes a while to open them up on my systems. So you just load them up, and it allows you to browse them, look at them. Let me get the colors right here. So you can add screen transfer function to it. You can choose a time, say you want to do it every 20th of a second, and it'll go through. This only has a few subs in it, but you can see as they're changing, and you can zoom in where you want to.
So that's easier than to find, as Naveen was describing, than the one where it did the the double glitch on the star plus the comet. So okay.
Yeah, it would see like instead of the comet core being, it would jump and there'd be two because one's a star, and then
yeah, you would see in this case the stars had been removed, but they were aligned on the comet before the stars were removed in this case, and so you can just watch the head of the comet and see if it's jumping around.
Yeah, Dave, I use blink on my initial images partly just to get rid of bad ones.
Yes.
Where it's jumping around.
because Steve, I've literally been going through one at a time.
Well, no, if you go through blink, then you can mark them and you can get rid of them.
Yes.
But also, the other thing I use blink for is to create an animation. Is you can download or click, if you click a button there, it will make a movie of once
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, once you've thrown out the images you don't want, okay, and you can play the movie.
Oh, there.
And then if you hit that, it will create a .mov file, and that's it's sort of an initial animation of your frames. You want to look at it, and I use that. I can show it when we come along here. There's several ways to do these animations, but this is a quick way to see what it looks like And sometimes it looks fine and you just use that as your animation if you want to do one. Okay, there are other much more sophisticated ways to do that. I take things in Lightroom and process them, and then use something called Glue Motion on my Mac to make much more sophisticated animations. But you can use Blink to make a really simple animation. It's kind of cool. And it's very easy to use. It's all within PixInsight.
Mhm. Thanks.
Just before we go, I just wanted to show one more image. I got a Astrobin account, so I can start posting these things. But and this isn't finished processing, but this is from the 23rd. All right, I'm gonna get rid of this window. There we go. Okay, that's from the 23rd, and it looked quite different then than it did on the 28th. Unfortunately, I didn't get as much data as I wanted because it took a long time to clear the trees in my yard. So just wanted to share that while I was doing. Okay, that's me.
All righty. Well, Jay, I thank you a lot. And yeah, this is, yeah, thanks for being the go-to person for this kind of stuff. So, well, actually, one more quick question. How many comments have you netted so far?
How many have I imaged?
Yeah.
Probably a dozen, I would guess. But I'm inspired. Well, more than that, if I count some back that I did on film.
Wow.
Well, I got a picture of Halley's Comet that was done on black and white, where I didn't have a clock drive, and I was pushing it along with my little 6-inch Newtonian, just moving it by hand while I was trying to take an image. And and same thing for was the big comet from several years ago.
The Neowise or Hale-Bopp or
Hale-Bopp, probably.
Hale-Bopp.
yeah.
For higher Kentucky.
Unfortunately, the last recent comet, both my equipment and its operator were kind of out of operating condition. And so I've been rebuilding my imaging rig to do so I could set it up faster and image more efficiently.
Very good. Okay, any other questions? No? Okay. All right, well, I guess we'll stop it there. As far as the second part of the meeting, we always show off images that we've taken last time. So I imagine everybody's got their own showcase of Comet images that they would like to share. Who would like to go first? Anybody? Okay, Steve, I think you're wanting to go. I can't hear you though. Still can't hear you, Steve.
You're muted in Zoom.
Let's see. That's to unmute. Maybe that'll.
Okay, unmute.
Okay, very good.
Are you there now? I'm not getting a share screen at all here now.
Huh.
I'm just seeing something that says Zoom. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm not seeing anything on Zoom now, so I don't know what's going on.
At the bottom, it's a green icon.
I'm not seeing even the icons now. Hang on, just a minute here.
Move your mouse down there, it disappears.
Let me close off this window here. Oh, okay, there we go. I got it now. All righty, let's see if my desktop too shows up. Is that showing?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. All right, these are recent ones. Now, after tonight, I'm gonna, and on Saturday, I want to reprocess all of these things and take a look at them, but because I'm sure I can do a much better job. I've just been using my Canon 6D with a 200 millimeter lens on it on a Star Adventurer mount and tracking a little bit from my deck and from my front sidewalk for the last couple of weeks. So I'll just show the things I haven't done anything more than I didn't take any darks or flats, which was a mistake, but I didn't do that. And so this is from February 4th. This is, I think, 45 20-second frames just stacked on the Comet and then processed a little bit. And I'm sure this could be done a lot better now just from hearing what Jay's told us. So that's sort of the first image I tried. Kind of the simplest thing to do just in the Comet alignment and pixel site. And so that was the first attempt back on the 4th. And then I go to the next one here. If I can get to it. There we go. Hang on. Did I jump too far? Yeah, no, I went too far. Sorry. This is that same thing, I think, on the 4th again. Yes, these are all the frames stacked, and this is, I used the blink thing just to stack the images and to get a little animation. It was very simple to do, and it's just very short motion of the comet across the sky there, and so that there was very little more than that, just stretching it in blink and then making blink make an animation of it. So that was real easy to do. Okay, what's the next one here? Then this is the this was on the 6th. I stacked all the stars. All this junk that's in here, that's all the dust that was on the lens, and because I didn't do flats or anything, so I've got a lot of streaking in there that I don't like. And this is Capella here, and then this is the Comet, of course, smeared because I stacked on the stars. But then when I looked at the Sky Safari Pro, that said there was another comet in this position, so I looked there and I sort of saw it, and so I went and looked at it more carefully. And so that other comet, the Atlas comet, was there. And if I looked at the individual frames, I couldn't see anything there, but I could see a green smear there when I looked at it in this version of it after I stacked on the stars. And so I was able to get two comets very close together in this particular image. I'm going to try to stack on, I haven't processed this one to stack on the comet and to see if maybe the second comet shows up at all in a stacking of it, but I haven't done that yet. I'll probably do that this weekend if we get time to do it.
Did you look to see how much Atlas was moving? Probably not much.
Not very much, no. Okay, I don't know why it says it couldn't be loaded. Try again here. Let's reload this one. I don't know, let's go back and go ahead. Sometimes this happens on Flickr. Come on. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, and this is another one. Oh, it's not going to load. It's just another little animation done in the same way as I did with Blink before. And since the frames weren't really processed, just stretched. Okay, and then this is the other night, February 13th, Monday night when it was clear here. And so I just went out on my front sidewalk and aimed the same setup toward this. This was, I don't know, probably 2 in the morning or something like that. And it was very close to Aldebaran and then Mars over here. I wanted to get both of these in the same frame. And so the comet was here. And then it's very near this cluster. It's open cluster, and there's another open cluster here. So it was fun. It was fun to just to look and see what was in the sky at that time and what I would happen to capture. And so I was able to get it very near this cluster of stars. And so that was kind of fun to do. And if it gets clear in the middle of the night tonight and I can see anything, I'll do that. But now I've got a lot of old comet pictures. We talked about, here's Hale Bopp. This was with film, as Jay mentioned, back in July of '95. And it's just single exposure out at Jordan Lake where it was very dark and the comet was very bright. And so, and that's been processed now. But I'm going to go back to all my other comet pictures and reprocess the data that I had, because I'm sure I could do a much better job of ones I've done in the last 10 years or so, and with the new software and all of that. So that's all I've got, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to go back. I've got several frames of Hale-Bopp that I haven't really digitized yet because the film got a little bit messed up. I need to try to clean it and rescan them.
Yeah, I had the negatives. I did rescan my negatives, and that was a big help, actually. They're a little
Well,
faded.
somewhere along the move, something got spilled on my book of negatives.
Well, that sucks. Okay, anybody else?
I can go if you want somebody to go now.
I know, I was about to speak up. I was like, Mark, surely you have something to show us. I mean,
All right. Should I be able to share?
yes, go for it.
Okay. All right, can you guys see that?
Yep, it's nice.
That looks
Okay,
familiar.
Yeah, this was very similar to the one that Jay showed originally. I shot this on the 24th, I think. And this was 60 by, well, almost 60 by 60 seconds. And got the little galaxy down there at the bottom. Can you see my pointer?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Yeah. So we got the, the anti-tail there, the ion tail there, and then the gas tail all around. So that was several weeks ago. And then Monday night, I got out and tried again. And I worked on this mostly today, and I'm not happy with it yet. So I'm going to try, Jay, that method 3. I can't really get you can just, I don't know if you can see it on Zoom, but just barely see the little ion tail goes right through there. But if I go with the streak method, I don't know how much it can see on Zoom. You can see it a lot better.
Very obvious.
With the no rejection, it makes a big difference. But when you try to reject the stars, you end up rejecting some of the comet tail. So I got work to do, but it shows some promise. This was 30 minutes, 30 seconds each for, 30 minutes.
What scope was that?
That was my 4-inch Genesis, 4-inch f5 refractor, a
Yeah,
35-year-old. Okay, that's it for me, unless there's questions.
Did it appear to move pretty fast?
Okay. Was that, I'm sorry, Chris, I didn't understand.
Yeah, did it appear to move pretty fast?
Yeah, I think it did, and that's why I decided to go with 30-second exposures this time. The previous picture was 1-minute exposures for an hour.
Or
And, so it helps to get longer exposures and longer time.
I looked up its speed for Monday night because I was planning to image too, and it was running at about 6 seconds per minute, whereas it was about over 10 on the 28th, the last time I was able to get out.
Big difference.
Tracking. Yeah, I think the fastest comet ever, but well, actually, it may have been faster than this one. It didn't get much attention back, but it was my first comet that I actually had an equatorial mount to image with. And Mark, I'm sure you remember this one, Comet Lulene.
Yes.
Yeah, what was freaky about that one, and I didn't notice at the time, because again, I was pretty new with everything. It was one of the few comets that came through, and Mark has more experience with as far as like more comet imaging opportunities than I've had, but it was a rare comet in that it was coming in the opposite direction than all the other rotation of the planets around the sun, and the common orbit that most other comets would take. And so because of that, it was moving really fast, just because it's moving in the opposite direction. Do you remember that, Mark?
Yeah, I've got a couple pictures of it. Not very good, but I actually did it.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to show mine because it's my first my first set of comet images, but yeah, no, that was something. Yeah, well, I mean, it was pretty. Actually, here, let's see. Let me share this. Maybe I got this still here. Because we share all the photos of comets over the years. Let's see. Yeah, that's all I have on my Flickr page was a time lapse of it. But yeah, it was trucking. Let's see. Oh, okay, here it is. Okay, let's see. Hello. Okay, anyway, there we go. Get rid of that ad. So yeah. There you go. February 23rd, 2009. God. That flies. But what was neat about this picture, because so new in the hobby, I mean, I didn't really know I sort of understood how dark frames work, but because what you're seeing here is just where I took the exposures and I just turned them into JPEGs, individual exposure. I didn't process them or anything individually or whatever. But as far as noise goes, you can't see them in this image because, well, I mean, they're just tiny pixels, but you can see where the noise, like the hot pixels or whatever, never blink. They would just be in one fixed spot. And I don't know if you can notice this, but you can see how my polar alignment wasn't the best, and stuff was starting to drift a little bit there to the right. But whereas at the end there, you see it's kind of on the red side. That's the sun coming up right there. And but yeah, that one was moving really fast. When everybody in Jay were talking about this one going really fast too. I was like, oh gosh, I don't have an F4 scope anymore. So anyways. But, okay, anybody else have anything else to share?
I can share.
I mean, you don't have to, this isn't just all about comments, so you might show other things too.
Oh, okay. So this is, when was this? On the 16th? I haven't gone back to try and reprocess. I definitely will. Can definitely, like, the one thing I wanted with this comet or any comet, and thankfully got it with this one, was to capture the ion tail. So, and it's got a bunch of there's like 5 galaxies down here and one little one right here. So that was fun to figure out how to retain. But yeah, I did the hard way with Star Exterminator and creating a residual mask and trying to clean up the images after the fact, but I'm hoping it'll be easier the other way. And then I need to come back and do this. So Mars is very bright, and this was 30-second subs. I've got some 15-second, 5-second, and 1-second exposures too. So I want to see if I can tamp down Mars, but this was on the, oh, I didn't put the date in the thing.
135?
That's the 23rd, I think, right? No, sorry, 13th.
Yeah, it was this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the 135 millimeter Rokinon T2I. And this cluster here is the Pirate Moon cluster. This is IC 2087. So I wanted to get that. I like dark nebulae and Mars. And I was trying to see, Steve, you mentioned another cluster. I can't tell from the wash of stars here where that is, but I'll have to go look for it. But
Yeah. Let's
Well,
see.
it's right next to that NGC cluster, or it's right over top of it that Steve showed. And
yeah,
it's not very far from the Hyades.
Yeah, it's NGC 1647.
Yeah, 1647. I'm looking at it here.
okay.
Yeah, the picture I
I'll
have
have
is
to
a wider
annotate it.
field of it. Yeah, but
Mhm.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
You got some, what was it? IFN there, it looks like.
Yeah, so this was shot, of course, at f2 because I have not yet tried stopping down that lens. Gotta go fast.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna definitely reprocess this. And I've got 3 other data sets I haven't really touched yet because I've tried and fought them, and I'm hoping that this techniques that I've learned tonight will help with those.
Well, if you want, you can also cheat and just go back to next clear night and do an HDR of Mars and just, well, crudely copy and paste and whatever you want to do.
I did try that, and it tamped the core down, but the halo still exists, so I'll probably do a composite of some sort. I don't know how bad it is on even the 1 second subs. I haven't looked yet, but I'm gonna get that weird spike in it either way, but we'll see.
Yeah. So that's something I've noticed with camera lenses is that when you, it's kind of odd. It's like your camera lenses are going to have diffraction spikes, but what I didn't know about when I started using camera lenses is that, yeah, when you run it at f2, there's some, I don't know where where it switches over, but when you have it wide open, you have diffraction spikes that are inverted, and that's what you got there.
Hmm.
It almost always happens when you leave it wide open. Now, had you had Mars in the center of your field of view, obviously the halo would have been symmetrical around it, but probably what would have happened as well is that, it looks like you only have 2 there. What you would have seen is the exact same pattern, but I mean, I don't know how many blades Rokinon has, but you probably would have seen 8 if, for example, if it had 8 blades.
I haven't
So,
counted it, but I have noticed those, like, like if it was up here on the top, it would have been horizontal. So it kind of,
I have
circles around.
the 8 that Chris is talking about in my images.
Okay.
My
yeah.
Mars has got those 8 spikes on it.
Yeah, so but you get rid of those. I think it's run F3.5 is when they start becoming your classic diffraction spikes, where they're not inverted like that. They're spikes. So
Yeah. Well, so far it hasn't bugged me personally, and that's fine. But,
Well, I tried, I've got a 70 to 300 zoom that is an excellent terrestrial lens. It gives me very great nature photos. So I thought I'd give it a try. It was horrible. At best focus, the stars look like bow ties.
oof.
They were elongated. I couldn't figure out where that came from. I don't think the aperture is shaped like that. Maybe it is. It's something weird.
yeah, I mean most of the deep sky stuff I've taken in recent years have been with camera lenses, and that's one of the things I don't like about those as far as leaving or not like about them. But one of the things I don't do anymore is putting the aperture wide open, because in the case of a comet, yeah, you want to, like you're saying, like Jay said, you want to capture as many photons as quickly as possible. But in the with respect to like camera lenses, you'll get little odd things like that happening to it. And so my default f-stop these days with camera lenses has always been f4, no faster. I mean,
Yeah, I've been thinking I need to just try and slow down to F4.
I agree.
I figured
Yeah.
that'd be a sweet spot.
Is there a mechanism PixInsight or elsewhere to get rid of the spikes on stars? Is there an algorithm for that?
I'm sure there is.
I
Everybody's
mean,
all kinds of stuff for that, but yeah, and then also it should save you the headache of sensitive focusing. So get down to F4, focusing is, well, it's
That's been several.
almost.
I can just go through quick and show a few that I've taken. It'll show people what like the novices took. It's like yours back in 2009, Chris, that you were talking about.
go for it, Dave.
Here's one from the. Can you see that? Okay, that's in the 14th of January. That was one of my first attempts back about a month or so ago, and then.
Well, that was very good.
This was on the 20th, so it was still over in the Corona Borealis at the time. So it was sitting over in a different area of the sky completely. And then that's on the 26th. And this is the one, Naveen, you pointed out that I actually got a little bit of the ion trail there, just by pure luck. And then that's just trying to modify that same one a little bit. And then the more recent ones, that's the February the 3rd. And then this was the 6th. I have them just by date order. And then this is the one on the 13th, just on the Monday that was on my background. But I haven't done any processing on this at all, or just very minimal. So I'm definitely going to try a couple of those things and see if I can get something a little bit more out of it. So. But it's been very, very useful to hear and watch you guys going through some of the stuff. So I know I can maybe do a little bit better. So,
Dave, did you use your Zenith Star for this?
yes, I did.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, the Zenith Star is definitely it's doing a nice job. I really enjoy it. And I'll go out there sometimes and just, like I was saying in one of the blogs in the Discord, I'll just go out there and just look. I just enjoy just sort of watching the comet. With the binoculars, and then I'll switch up to the Zenith Star or my little reflector. And it's
That's good. That means you're not going to spend as much money on imaging as most of us.
I have a feeling, though, Chris. I think I'm getting bitten here. I think I'm starting down the journey of getting more equipment. So,
well, Dave, you said you didn't process that, but the name implies that there's 9 frames, so you must have.
It's with Sharp Cap.
Oh, okay.
And so I with Sharp Cap, what I do is I just kind of set it up, and then maybe do, when I say processing, I literally do a little bit of stacking, but I don't do anything in terms of with these yet. I have not pushed them at all in terms of the levels or the curves or the saturation, those kind of things. So I may have to experiment a little bit.
I think that's going to be a good one when you work on it some.
Okay, good to know that I'll work on it.
Yeah, that one I think you could probably see hitting up in the frame, maybe the faint ion tail. But I could be seeing things.
Do you have flats for that?
Yes, I did take flats that night, and these are the darks are included in this, but I don't think I included the flats. So I'll have to try to do that.
Yeah, looks like light fall occurring there.
Yeah, even that much you can probably correct with dynamic background extractor. I have some horrendous gradients sometimes.
Yeah, Max and Naveen were both talking about that on the Discord site, and so I'm actually gonna try that a little bit. So those are mine.
You could do a quick AVE with that, AVE. I mean,
a quick what did you call, Chris?
I said AVE.
Automatic background extraction. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have PixInsight, Dave?
No, I'm using Affinity.
So
I know.
Raxper.
All these acronyms, but I did go and look up a bunch of it. It's like, oh my god, everything you guys referencing is all on PixInsight. So
money, Dave, money. That's
what I hear.
Well, the good thing about PixInsight is you buy it once and it's yours.
Oh, that's a good thing.
You can rationalize it because it costs less than the physical equipment.
Yeah.
Except
How much
people
is-
don't
how
want to
much does
spend
it
the money.
cost now? I mean, I didn't even look.
It's less than 300 US.
I was going
think.
to say it's about $300 is when last time I looked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
I think the
200
Affinity Pro cost me about $35 or whatever it was.
Oh, I still use Affinity Photo for stuff.
I used to use Deep Sky Stacker, and there's one I downloaded the other day, Cyril. I don't
I
know
want to
how-
try out Cyril. It sounds like it's improved a lot. So.
With the Deep Sky Stacker?
Well, I used to use Deep Sky Stacker. All of my previous, before I bought PixInsight about 10 years ago, was with Deep Sky Stacker, using the star rejection method. It wasn't terribly efficient, so I wouldn't go back now. But there's a new processing program called Cyril that I downloaded the other day. It's free. I haven't tried it yet. I think it's free, at least a free trial.
Yeah, it's free. I use it.
Hey
Thanks.
guys, can I show a couple? I'm new to the club, and as Dave was saying, I'm kind of want to get into the astrophotography too, and I'm planning on making some investment in some equipment, but I wanted to really learn more about it before I take that step.
Absolutely.
This was really, so I have to say it was hard to follow a lot of that because I haven't done any of the processing and the stacking like that before, but I do have a couple pictures to show of stuff I have done with no processing.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, I was going to put my video on too. How do I share screen? Okay.
It should be a blue or green icon at the bottom. Maybe select the window that you want to share.
And you go by William, sir?
Bill.
Bill.
Thanks. Yeah,
Okay.
Bill. Let me try. I'm going to share. You know what? I'm going to try sharing the actual picture. So wait, I'll do this one. This is. Can you see this one?
It's coming up. Hold on.
Since you're showing
Here it
comets,
is.
this is my picture of Hale Bopp from 1997.
Nice.
All right.
Okay, good enough.
Which was a camera on a tripod. I had like a Minolta film camera that I used back then. So, and then I had done. So I have a Canon 6D. So I'd done, worked on doing some of these kind of sky shots. So this was the Milky Way we were on vacation. So this is, and again, just using a camera on a tripod. But what I've done a little bit of photography through. I have a Celestron C8, which is like 28 years old. I've used it, I've had all that time. I love to do visual observing of the planets mostly. One of the things, it's a very simple with a wedge and the motor to track. So not so great for finding stuff. So a lot of other stuff besides planets, I really struggle to hunt around and look for those. So that can get frustrating. But I did try. So I did this one of the Orion Nebula, like just a couple days ago. So this is actually not stacked or anything like that, just a 10-second exposure with my camera placed on a telescope. But so just trying out the process. But I have been, I'm kind of interested in going and getting the real equipment to do it, like getting a new scope with the go-to function and able to do this kind of photography with the other equipment. So that's why I wanted to keep going to the meetings, get the opportunities to see what you guys are doing and learn more about it and make sure I'm getting the good things to be getting into it.
And
Well,
Bill,
well-
just so you know, we all have
Yeah.
photos like this one you're
Of
just showing.
course.
Yeah, many, many.
I have to say that I've had this Celestron, right? As I said, I got it in 97 and it was manufactured in 95. So it was a used telescope when I got it. Love it, right? I've been using it all these years. All I've done is I love to look at the planets, but whenever you look at deep sky stuff visually, I mean, even with an 8-inch telescope, you don't really see anything, right? So this is the first time I ever really tried to do the actual precise polar alignment with the mount, set it up to do that, had my DSLR, I had it at the, mounted the prime focus, lots of failed shots trying to figure out how to focus it, you know, and then testing the different ISOs and the exposure times in order to get it. And like 10 seconds was all I could do, because even with the polar alignment I did, once I got to over 15 or 20 seconds, then you'd see the stars start to, you know, it was still drifting because I just couldn't get it perfect. So
What is the mount that you have, Phil?
it's the wedge mount that comes. So it's a you know, the fork mount that the C8
Yeah,
comes
okay.
with a 9-volt battery that drives the motor to track the sky, and the wedge, you know, puts it at the polar angle. So I have it set up. You know, I usually since I didn't really try too much photography of deep sky through it, I never really went through that process of the very precise polar alignment. What I would do is, you know, I set the wedge at the right angle for the latitude and then kind of eyeball it when I set it up. And that was always enough to just keep a planet in the field of view, which is all I was really using it for. Because then you could do that, set it up, hit the switch, and, you know, you're looking at Jupiter and it doesn't wander out of the field of view while you're looking at it. That was always good enough. But trying to do that, you know, that was, I thought if I'm going to, I'm really looking at like you know, investing in a bigger telescope like that with the go-to, but I want to actually, you know, make sure that I really want to be into this process trying to, and it was fun doing this and doing the setup and everything like that. So I enjoyed that.
Bill, I would say with the 10-second exposure there, you could probably do a lot with the equipment you already have, because the other side of it is the processing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you take even shorter exposures than this, because I don't know if this was stretched or whatnot, but yeah, stack those, you'd be surprised what you get.
And for focus, just get a button off mask.
Yeah, I just learned about that actually. I've been watching some YouTube videos, and that was always a problem. Usually for planets I could focus because they're bright enough to look through the viewfinder and kind of do it. But
you're just taking pictures with the camera, not connecting the camera to a computer.
This was, yeah, so just with the camera. My Canon, I can control it wirelessly on my phone. That makes it a lot easier to do that, because then I can mount it to the telescope, and I've got like it on a T-mount. And then once I get the set up and everything that I'm looking at, then on the phone, I'm controlling it like a remote, and I can go through and change the exposure setting and the ISO and everything I want on the phone. So I don't have to be down on the back of it, you know, at this weird angle doing it. So that's really handy.
Well, you can also use Backyard EOS, the software on a laptop, to talk to the Canon.
Okay, all right.
It makes things a lot simpler too in some ways.
Okay. Yeah, so some of that is, you know, like I said, I feel like I want to go, you know, get like a more serious equipment there, but I think also I should learn more about it, and then, you know, really seriously try with the equipment I got to get a feel for what I'm doing and everything. And
that was the best piece of advice I got at the beginning, was to you know, to start with some of your existing equipment that you're familiar with, and then you'll then figure out over time sort of where to branch out with it. But
yeah, there are bits of software and little inexpensive things that you can use with what you already got.
yeah.
And then once you figured out, yeah, I want to do this, and I like the processing part, then you can spend a lot more money doing it. But you can do a lot with what you've got.
Yeah, I think that's good advice to do that. Like maybe the next step would be trying looking at using the software and doing some playing around. What I have experience with is a little bit of Lightroom. So this one was you know, I took a bunch of exposures, but basically I'm just picking the best one, and then I use Lightroom to kind of adjust a little bit to try and bring out some of the colors in it. But
all right, so if you've got a bunch, you probably could get something like Deep Sky Stacker or Cyril and stack them, and that'll help bring down the noise, bring up the signal, and then when you process it again, you should see a lot more of faint tendrils of dust.
The other thing you can do is, if you want to zip up your files and just put them someplace, you know, we can play around with them and show you what's possible with just what you've got already.
Yeah.
The Orion Nebula is so bright in the center, you need to do some like 10 or 15 second exposures anyway, and then do some longer exposures, and then HDR them together. Or
Yeah,
else, because one of the prettiest things I think about the Orion Nebula is the trapezium, the star cluster in the
yeah, and
middle.
that's overexposed in the center. I noticed that this seems like the easiest one or the brightest one to be able to do that with, because I also tried the same night to do the same thing with the Horsehead Nebula, and I really couldn't, I couldn't expose it long enough to really get anything out of it, at least not in a single shot. You'd have to do the multiple ones.
Many times darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a good time of the year to start. So keep on Orion. You will learn a lot.
Can your scope accept computer control? Will the hand control
No,
have
it
a
is
USB?
Yeah, it's a very simple, just a 9-volt battery driving the motor on it, and everything is manual on it. It does have a hand controller that you can use, like let's say you're optically guiding with a guide scope. You could sit there and do the tweaking with the hand controller, because it does have a declination motor, which I've hardly ever used. But you have to have. I have a pretty good finder scope with it, but I don't think that that's high enough to be able to guide something for a longer exposure. But might be something to try out too, to get to see how that works out as well. And that's why I definitely want to try out this and the processing and everything like that to see. It is something I've always been interested in trying to get into, doing this, but also, as I said, visually, I'd always like to look at the planets, but I really have been wanting to expand more beyond it. And to me, you really get more out of it if you're doing the imaging to see the deep sky stuff. All right.
One thing you might consider looking into is EAA, because that's it's a lot shorter exposures and stacking them on the fly. I really haven't done much with EAA, electronic assisted astronomy, but with this single exposure at 10 seconds, I think you could absolutely take a crack at that.
Mhm. Right.
You did a good job polar aligning, so those focal lengths, well done.
Yeah, I would say the amount I did is way better than I've ever tried before. So when I looked at it visually, I was like, even before you'd see it wander, I was always having to just do an adjustment. It was just long enough to, like, if you want to at a public event, you want people to look at a planet through there or something, it's long enough to keep it in there, so you have to keep correcting it. But visually, I'm looking through and I'm like, oh, that's locked in. That was pretty good. So that is a good thing to practice too, is that capability of trying to do that polar alignment and see how close I can get it. All right. Well, thanks for the discussion and for letting me share there.
And Bill, I've got a quick one just to show you with the guys have really helped me with this. And this was also with just a little motor that you're describing.
That's good.
So it was just the motor. It was sorting out the polar alignment, those kind of things. 16-second exposures, because I wasn't able to do very much more. But then once they sort of guide you with a little bit of this group guided you with the processing and learning stuff or whatever. So and this is with a scope that's about a third less than the one you're talking about. It's just a little 5-inch reflector. So I know you can get a lot out of that one you have.
Well,
So
yeah,
don't give up on
that.
Definitely do not give up on it.
Most people are imaging with smaller refractors, and so you don't need a big scope to do that. But you do need a good mount.